are probably millions of people out there in the world on various social media platforms trying to get noticed, trying to make money, trying to make a living. And what really, really drew me into this platform is it supports emerging talent. So for me to be partnering with a brilliant new platform where the artists literally get paid within 24 hours and take 80% of the revenue, I thought was brilliant for so many reasons. It's going to help people financially. It's going to help people get noticed. And it's not just singers. You could be a singer, you could be a comedian, you could be a chef, you could be an educator. But this is essentially the essence of lounges. And that's why when I had the opportunity to be a part of it, it was one of the quickest yeses I've ever given. With Lounges TV, we've created a whole new platform for talented creators, the ones who really should be earning more money from their exclusive content.
Scott, I think that's your cue.
I'm Scott Green. I'm one of the co-founders of Lounges TV, and thank you very much for displaying that presentation for us. And it's great to be here today.
Max?
Yeah, I'm Max from Growth Director at Human Protocol. Obviously happy to have you all with us today. And yeah, can't wait to talk about fans in Web3.
James, do you want to reintroduce in case people didn't catch your
I'm James, founder of Iconic. Out of my depth in Web3, but trying.
Sorry.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Jan. I'm the CMO at Polkastarter. And Polkastarter is a fundraising platform for Web3 projects. So we're basically a marketplace where we curate projects and also connect them with a community that wants to support early on.
Hi everyone, I'm Bernard, I'm the co-founder of W3S. We're a digital assets investment banking firm partnering with founders across the full life cycle of the company, from secondaries to capital raises and M&A.
Hi, I'm Salomé Azevedo. I'm the founder and one of the founders and CEO of Dotmoovs, which is a mobile app and Web3 platform for sports athletes to show and expose themselves to AI-based technology to everyone in the world to compete and practice.
Great, thanks everyone. So Scott, I wanted to ask you, Lounges TV gives 80% of revenue to artists directly. How and why did you come to make that decision?
I think the world's gone content mad at the moment. There's just so many creators popping up. There's literally 5 million creators, and it's growing rapidly. But the problem is the current model is very antiquated. It's all about ads, and you need millions and millions of eyeballs before you can actually generate any meaningful revenue.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we do kind of democratizing the world of the way that people earn revenue online and removing the ability for ads. And it all comes around both tipping services and pay-per-view. So it really allows people to monetize their content fairly without needing millions and millions of people seeing their content to earn revenue. The problem with that is the people with millions of followers are the only ones earning revenue. And it's just not, it's a very unbalanced environment at the moment. So that's kind of how we positioned our platform and just democratizing the whole world of talent, and then positioned it as people aren't getting paid fairly, but they're not getting paid quick enough. And Lounges TV also pays within 24 hours. So it really allows talented people all around the world to go live today and get paid tomorrow.
And that's really kind of a model that we're seeing more and more of now. And I wondered, this is a question to all of the panel, how will kind of ownership of an artist's IP change the way that fandom works? There's a lot more at stake here. You can own something. How does that change maybe the way fans see things?
Yeah, I can
Who
try.
wants to start?
No, it's great. Thanks to Web3 technology, and it feels like cliche because we're always saying this. The fans can early on have a part of ownership, so you can get rewarded from early on detection of artists that you like, and you can also support people by financially supporting them, but also being an ambassador as a community member, and that's the beauty of Web3. So I think the connection between artists and fans are going to change and bring them closer together, since you are owner or co-owner of something that you create together.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think, can fully second that. I think historically, if you look at how fandom has evolved, and thanks for guiding us through the whole history before. It's every fan wants to get closer and closer to the fan, to the creator or club over time. And Web3 is the first time that a new stage of technology enables new systems of really taking part. And I think it was like a gradual move from purely consuming content to then, with the likes of Web2 technology, the Twitches of this world or TikTok, to be closer and closer to your creator, but still in kind of a passive manner. And now I think we're at a quite interesting focal point of being even closer with partly owning parts of the success of your creator as well. I think, generally it's just to be seen if we can make it work in terms of dynamics, because we've, I think, as a space talked about this for the last 1-2 years already, and it's interesting to see what's being built behind the scenes to actually make it work.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose we've heard a little bit about fan to artist contact. I wondered how blockchain activations can also boost like the fan to fan contact as well. Maybe the community thriving, sharing with one another. Maybe that's one for you, Max.
Yeah, definitely. I think Web3 was pivotal for people to understand that their engagement had a value, and also that when you get together with other people with the same incentive, you kind of want to reach a consensus, even way before getting a tech consensus. You want to be able to gather with people and kind of tell what makes you a fan of the protocol or of the project or of the artist. And then your work as a fan, but also as a community manager or as a brand, is to basically make sure that you all come to the same point, and to make sure that you have kind of a common ground. The beauty of tech and Web3 is that now people also can be rewarded instantly for doing that. So that's great for fans, but also great for artists or brands, because I mean the feedback loop is so short that you honestly can rarely be wrong. Or I mean, you're either completely wrong or you're just getting to massive point of success.
And Salomé, how can UX kind of, and what kinds of decisions do brands need to be considering when they're really building these virtual experiences and products for fan communities? What's going to kind of make it that emotional, vociferous thing that James was talking about?
Yeah, so I was listening to you during the conversation, and we need to talk afterwards, because like in sports, we are experiencing some changes concerning the Web3. So the NFTs got into the space in the sports industry in a very strong way. But concerning the audience, the fans that are within the sports industry that are willing to look at the sports players and having some piece of the sports players, but also to practice, it's a huge problem, because there's a lot of people here still in the sports industry that don't understand the potential of the NFTs and the token, so the Web3 value on it, and they get into the game with a lot of resistance because they believe it's going to be a scam, or they don't understand it really well. So in concerning from our perspective on Dotmoovs, we are working really hard in order to make very subtle changes in the digital experience for them, so they can understand that the NFT is a technology, of course, but it's something that it's making the experience enhanced. So we use NFT just to give a more physical, a tangible thing. It's like the NFTs for us are sports gear. So everyone that played sports loved that sneakers that help them win the game, or the ball that win the game. And we are trying to use the NFT technology to create the same experience. And through UX and UI, what we are doing is to help the Web2 user feel that actually that has more value because it respects the IP from the creator that creates the NFT, but also the sports player like Ronaldo or any other player that has put some energy in order to create that same experience. So concerning UX UI, in overall, what we see is that when you have a strong Web2 audience that's still there and doesn't know that does not have literacy on Web3 gets a little bit scared. So we have a huge war to make them believe that it's well built, it follows the rules, and they can actually add value to the whole ecosystem and not to some parts.
You see, what I love about that is, again, if you look at the chronology, at one point we just sent stuff to people. Hey, I've been sent this picture. How cool, I'm a fan. And then it's like, oh my God, I can comment on their picture. They might even reply. Probably not. But the way you're describing that is so lovely. It's the seamless transition between physical and virtual, which most people under the age of sort of 25 understand inherently anyway. If they game, if they love football, they've learned that through the likes of FIFA. So everything you're describing, if their favourite player, well, we're in Portugal, Bernardo Silva or Bruno Fernandes, for example, the idea that a young player can improve that performance within a game or further their involvement within an environment, doesn't even have to be the gameplay, it could just be about swagger and cool within a gaming-like environment. If they can do that through what they're doing in real life, that then gets involved what they do virtually and vice versa. That's the ultimate expression of fandom, because you're just becoming what they're interested in. It is just one thing then. You're not just sending out a bit of an asset or a paraphernalia. That is everything bound together, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it seems like there's maybe been a shift towards that kind of seamless integration, not naming that, this is an NFT and this is on the blockchain, that kind of thing. I wondered, a question for all the panel, what maybe do we need to keep in mind when reaching new audiences in new fan spaces that maybe aren't Web3 native? Like, what kinds of watch outs do we need to be thinking about?
The biggest challenge that we see, talking to a lot of builders, is the focus, I think, which is a bit the disease of our space, is the focus on financialization and monetization too early, because the technology allows for it, and there are all these opportunities to play around with incentives and baking in those incentives into communities and so on. While I think when you look at the Web2 space, at the really successful kind of creator-driven or community-driven companies, they all are product first, having their ear on the ground with the users and iterating their products and so on. So I think there's still a gap in the space that, we see at the one or other end. It's, closing with the bear market, and it's not only, baking in any incentive model and hoping your company will, thrive on hype associated to it. But I think that gap is still to be closed if we want to catch up to any, relevant Web2 competition, which are also moving into the space increasingly.
Yeah, I also think that NFTs for emerging artists is going to be a huge area and big growth area, because if you're a fan of an emerging artist and they haven't hit the big time yet, if you can own a fractional piece of that album before it goes, mainstream, and if you could imagine seeing Ed Sheeran on SBTV before he actually exploded, you can have an opportunity to buy a piece of that. Whether you're not going to be able to buy a piece of him, but a piece of his fans, whether it's his music or part of his label, and he grows into one of the biggest grossing artists of the UK, and then you got in early, again, you can really see some huge growth areas in NFTs. And I think obviously NFTs has had some tough times over the last 9-12 months, but I think over the next 3 to 4 years you're going to see a massive growth area in NFT space for emerging artists.
Yeah, I guess it would be more than just kind of I got their set list from their first gig, but something a lot more durable.
Just see them just getting in early on that journey. I think that's important.
I think to add on, because you asked, like, if you're a builder, what you need to watch out for or look out for. I think UX, all those issues are going to the back end. Everyone will use Web3 without knowing that they use Web3. We know that. That's going to happen next year. But as a builder, in my opinion, what you really need to take care of is we're making it so simple for people to exchange assets. Yeah. What that means is that every asset becomes super liquid. What that also means is that a lot of people are going to start speculating on assets. Yeah.
So I think if you're building a project around a fandom, around a project, and the most important thing is to select the right fans and to connect those fans with the artist without having 90% speculators and then 10% fans. So I would not focus on the UX UI part because everyone is building this and you just can't integrate. But I would focus very much on the product itself, the idea behind it, and to make sure that you create the connection and Web3 is the technology in the backend and don't succumb to the technology as being there for speculation purposes.
Yeah, I'd love to add something. That's very true. That's spot on. If I had to give a piece of advice to someone who would try to create something in that space and engage fans, first is I would say that you should stop thinking about rewarding people.
Yeah.
You know, love should, I mean, that's going to sound weird. Love shouldn't be transactional. And that's very true. And you know, that the fact that the people that you get with this kind of reward thing are short-term minded people. And I think fandom takes time to be built. And also, you know, everything's about balance, even in communities. So if you address a market like football, for instance, or music, super fans are the epitome of super fans. And the love they have for their artists or their athletes is huge. So the expectations are going to be huge as well, because if you tell people like that they're going to be able to have access, to be closer to their favorite artist or favorite player, that creates so many expectations from different people that are already kind of, you know, creating their own vision of their artist, and you just add up, you know, problems and levels of complexity. I think we should all go back to what makes people follow something, or, you know, get on the game on a Sunday. I think we should remember that people need to interact on a very simple basis. They need to share things that are genuine, and monetization will come.
Yeah.
Models, most of the time, the most efficient models are just, you know, building by time. That's something I really want to say again and again and again.
So I guess, you know, looking maybe to the future a little bit here, what kinds of areas do you think will kind of flourish and develop within the kind of Web3 fan space? And also, which areas of investment do you feel are kind of rising?
You know, everyone is afraid of telling, you know, things on stage that could be taken as financial advice, I guess. Investment is not a word you want to say on stage in the crypto space.
Sure.
I think, go back to NFTs. I think NFTs can be a huge growth area of fractional ownership for streaming and general fanzine stuff. I think is a huge growth area. I'm not a Web3 expert, but I can see that from our audience that we're talking to, it's definitely seeing that is becoming a traction, and it's coming back, that people do want to, you know, gift things and do things differently than just, you know, simple transactional stuff that goes on in everyday life.
Yeah. I guess, you know, we started with conversations about that kind of vociferous nature of an emotional nature of fandom. How can Web3 bring, or, you know, excite actual physical interaction with fans? I'm thinking, you know, concerts in real life. Like, what kinds of supports can be put in place there to make it more of an experience?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Not least, again, making it invisible, removing the barrier, so taking anything out that feels like you're going to now have a chore to go and do something. So it's really prevalent right now, for example, at live gigs and events, rather than just have the odd moment that might be proficient on, say, TikTok, that actually it's scripted within some of the biggest live shows with the biggest artists, where the TikTok moments sit within that live show to then effectively flourish on a social platform. The same sort of mentality can really be considered from a Web3 perspective, whether that be a classic proximity play, whether that be a closeness and up close and personal with an artist, whether that be the whole bit before that is often forgotten, you know, and we've got platforms here that are quite literally meant to do that, to bring you close to an artist. Well, rather than just the getting there, the queuing and the ticket paraphernalia, it's like, what's the bit before where you can have one-on-one time with Taylor Swift or whatever the version of that might be? How can that then be something that is with you forever, an artifact that is kind of burnt, if you like, in your memory, but also an asset that you carry with you forever? Again, taking away anything that feels like, hey, a bit like what we used to do with digital, and what can we do on digital? Remove the word, take away the language, see it as a blank sheet of paper like that. I think that leaves you in good stead.
Yeah, I guess kind of going back to the nature of, you know, what it is to be a fan, rather than complicating it with kind of jargon and that kind of thing. I wondered if you know, are tracking any activations or brands that you feel are really doing exciting things in this space, because obviously we always want to kind of leave people with a bit of inspiration note. So anything you've spotted that you really feel like we could learn a lot from in the fan space?
I think an interesting, general movement obviously is, Web 2 or big tech companies increasingly moving into the space after, having gone through a couple of bull and bear cycles and, not thinking that this is all a scam, but really appreciating the, value or potential of the technology itself. And you have the likes of, like Ticketmaster, for example. I think in community is an interesting example where they put in, NFT experiences now into their ticket holdings with obviously, very established access to a wide customer base that is used to use their product, and they can very easily test kind of dipping their toes in, not reward driven, as you rightly pointed out, and I fully second that. But really playing around with those dynamics and see what sticks with customers, and how you can feed or play Web3 dynamics with customers. And I think these companies are obviously in a position ahead because they have the access and they think customer first. While we are coming from the Web3 space, we have to solve that problem, how to get mass appeal with our applications. And there's going to be an interesting fight, or maybe also collaboration opportunity in the space that very exciting, I think, to see play out.
Yeah, maybe to add on Web 2 and Web 3, I see Web 3 is a technology that can boost Web 2 as well. So Web 3, we saw the rise of NFTs, and then suddenly we gave value to new stuff because the Web 3 or NFTs didn't exist before. So you had the Bored Apes and the CryptoPunks, so people gave value to those, cultural value. And now in Web 2, we have a lot of collectibles, fandom things. You collect Pokemon cards because you're a big fan of Pokemon. And that already exists and it's already valuable. So now Web3 technology is just creating a digital wrapper around those existing or digital or physical assets or Web2 assets. And now thanks to that technology, you can super boost communities, you can connect with others digitally in a way more efficient way, you can exchange those. So I think that Web2 will tremendously benefit just because of the superpowers that Web3 gives to Web2 today.
Yeah, I like that point about kind of superpowers and supercharging things. So we've only got a couple more minutes, so I would love to hear from each of you what maybe you're most excited about in the years to come when it comes to fan communities, whether it's in the Web 2 space or the Web 3 space or a blend of the two. What excites you most about this space?
So I can start. Well, I'm a sports fanatic, so I would focus on sports, and I will leave you for the rest of the industries in that. For me, I think it's I remember when I was young, instead of the posters of music artists, I had Michael Jordan. I had my players there, and I was always looking like I will never be able to have something of him. I remember one time in this last game of Michael Jordan, they were doing an auction of this chewing gum that he spit on the floor, and it was like, for me, it was like, oh, I'm not that fun, right? So I didn't want that, but I wanted the first shoot, I wanted a piece of something that I could remember because I was watching the game with my father, and I got really enthusiastic into the game because my father put it on me. And the community is about that, right? It's the moments that we live together because we both love that moment, and someone either influences us or we influence another in that. With Web3, as you said very beautifully, Web3 is going to enhance that what we already know on Web2, but guaranteeing a safe space for everyone that is contributing to that moment, because Michael Jordan doesn't know me, but he knows that there are people over there like getting crazy every time that he shoots, and he knows that. But as Michael Jordan, and I promise I will finish, but as Michael Jordan, there's the new guy in the street playing really hard that could be using Web3 to expose his or her talent to the world. And with Web3, the powers of Web3 is getting the underdogs really exposed to the whole community, and let the crowd decide, and not the number of likes that you have on a social media platform, So I'm really enthusiastic to see how the sports industry is going to change, because the community really drives that, so drives the passion and drives the moment. So I hope that for sure for the community. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Salome. That's actually all we have time for today. But
I'm
thank
sorry.
you so much.
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
It was a beautiful note to end on, all about the community. So thank you all for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Newconomics and the rest of the day. So thank you so much. Thanks.
You want to go?